Hi, I'm Dr. Kirsten Lewanek coming to you from River Valley Chiropractic, where we teach you to move well so that you can live well. And we're getting a lot of patients coming in that are having problems with their knee, or runner's knee as they call it. They're out running on a regular basis, or they've just started running again, and they're experiencing problems either in their knee, or they're having shin splints, or they're having Achilles tendonitis, those type of conditions. So I wanted to talk about one critical elements that you need for running, which is hip extension. If you are not achieving hip extension due to tightness in the front of the hips, then this is going to cause pain and injury in the long run in one of those areas. So why do we have trouble with hip extension? Well, we sit too much. Most of us sit all the time. And we talk about this on this channel all the time, that sitting is definitely a problem. So then we have chronic shortening and tightness in the front. So two things that you need to focus on stretching if you're having problems with hip extension when you're running is quad tightness, as well as tightness in the hip flexors. So how can we achieve this? Well, first of all, if you're not getting that hip extension when you're running, if you're not getting hip extension, which I have tight hip flexors, so this is a problem for me, but if you're not getting extension when you run, essentially when you're running, you're pulling. It's a pulling mechanism versus pushing. When you have hip extension, you're able to push as you run. When you don't have hip extension, then you're pulling. So there's very different mechanism of action in your running that's happening if these are too tight. And this can lead to pain and injury in the long run. And this is where we start seeing pain in the knee, or what we call runner's knee. It's where we start seeing an increase in shin splints, as well as an increase in Achilles pain. So what is happening is this is tight, and then the glutes are inhibited from sitting all the time. The glutes are not turning on. So what muscles are we pulling, or what muscles are we utilizing when we run when these are tight and these are weak? Well, we're utilizing the hamstring muscle and the calf and the Achilles more, and so then we start seeing injury with those, because those are not meant to be your primary muscle groups that push you as you run. So we have already talked about on this channel the couch stretch and stretches for the when you have tight hip flexors. We've used the stretch where you use a band. You can go back and find that one. That's a great stretch. There's another one called the couch stretch that you can use at home, where you're stretching the hip flexors utilizing the couch. I wanted to share one more. It's called a let me see what it's called. It's called a lunging lizard stretch. It's actually adapted from a yoga move. It's going to not only stretch the hip flexor, but it's also going to help strengthen the glute at the same time. So let's demonstrate the best way to demonstrate that. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get one leg back like this, and this leg's gonna be like this. So you're stretching this one, and we're stretching the right hip flexor, engaging the glute on the left. And then you can bring your hands down like this to further in the stretch. And again, I'm stretching here, engaging the glute. And you can see that my foot's on the outside of my hands. If that's not enough for you and you need more stretch, you can go down to the elbows. So you can use these yoga blocks or something similar to get down to the elbows, to get more of a stretch. And then for those of us that are really flexible, which is not me, you can continue to go down to one block and then even down to the floor. But find where the best stretch for you is, and then it's a static stretch. You want to hold it. So we're going to hold it for 1 to 2 minutes to actually create change in those tissues in the front of the thigh, the hip flexor, the quad. And at the same time, your glute is engaged to hold this position. So it kind of gives you a dual mechanism in that it stretches the hip flexor and engages the glute. And then you would want to switch and do the other side. Again, you can do it just standing. I mean, not standing, but without arms straight. And then if you want to go into it deeper, you can utilize a block to get down into that. So that's called a lunging lizard stretch. It's another stretch that you can throw in there if you want to mix it up. to get the static stretch of the hip flexor, but this one engages the glute at the same time. I do not recommend that you're doing these static stretches before a run. That can decrease your ability to, the endurance and ability for the power of the muscle. So you want to reserve static stretches for after a run or on days that you're not running. That's when static stretches are best, where you're holding them that 1 to 2 minutes. Otherwise, you'd be utilizing other types of stretches, dynamic stretches, those type of things before a run to loosen up and warm up those areas. If you have any questions on this video or have any questions about the hip flexors, tight quad stretches that you can do for those, feel free to pop that down below in comments. But again, getting that mobility back, that flexibility back in the hip flexor and quad is going to allow for more hip extension as you're running. So in your running gait, you'll get that hip extension. Whereas if you don't have that hip extension and you're pulling as you run, you're basically in almost like a seated posture while you're running, because you're never getting that leg back. You're never getting that push. So you want to focus on working on these static stretches on a regular basis, again, after a run or on the days that you're not running, to create change in those tissues that are tight from sitting all the time, so that then you can get that hip extension and prevent the injury or help to treat, injury, things that you're feeling from running, such as runner's knees, Achilles tendonitis, shin splints, that type of thing. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to pop it down into the comments below. Please like and share this video with other people that you know that are running. Spring sports are getting started, so we got a lot of athletes out, coming off the couch and starting to run again. Share this video with them so they can help prevent those shin splints and all those things that we don't like to have happen that get in the way of our running when you love to run. And I want to thank you for watching today. Again, I'm Dr. Kirsten Lewanig, River Valley Chiropractic, and we teach you to move well so that you can live well. Have a great day. Bye-bye.